Firstly, my great pleasure to welcome you to our kickoff call for the Embed Nature program as part of the A-Track project. Our aim is we're here to help you to integrate nature into the decision-making of your company, or potentially if you're with a network, an NGO or a service provider, for you to help those companies in a more effective way as well. So on this kickoff call, you're going to get a sense of how the A-Track team will be able to help you with that and make your day jobs easier. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, so my name is Nadine McCormick. I'm a senior manager in the Nature Action team at the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, WBCSD. I'm actually, though, helped by a huge A-Track team behind the scenes. You see a lot of us with our beautiful backgrounds on, but also shout out to James from Opla and Amanda from WBCSD. So if you've got any technical questions today, please do directly chat to them, and they will be able to help you out. We have some housekeeping to get through first of all. So we on the A-Track team, you'll note that we are recording this session. We're recording the plenary parts of the session. We do also have a breakout part towards the middle end of the session as well. And yes, we will be sharing the slides and the recordings as well afterwards. And note that we will be using the inputs from during the engagement sessions today and the breakout sessions to inform our future work. We're very agile in this A-Track project. You as participants, you will see we've got lots of moments for you to engage with us today. So we encourage you to be active, use the raise hand function, use the chat function, and also leave space for others to do so as well. Be open to sharing your challenges, but to do that, we will be using Chatham House rules, which, as a reminder, means that you are actually free to go and tell people about this amazing call that you were on today and the insights that you took. But please don't personally attribute to that individual unless you've checked with them beforehand. And for you to get the most out of the call today, we recommend that you do close down your other applications, your internal chat, your inbox, because it's, the multitasking is not going to go in fully, right? So allow yourself this 90 minutes of a chance to really engage differently in a business unusual way. And then finally, please go to the participants list and find your name and update it to include your organizational name. It just helps us to all understand who's on the call today as well. So please do go to your name, click on the 3 dots next to your name, and then include your organizational name. And then one final important housekeeping slide as well as antitrust compliance. I think, well, now more than ever, those of you who know WBCSD, we've been taking this very seriously, bringing it into the A-Track project as well. So especially as we're going into breakout discussions, it's just a reminder that please don't, under any circumstances, mention any of the sensitive topics that you see listed here on the screen. A little reminder that actually you are all individually responsible for ensuring compliance with your own respective antitrust laws and regulations. And then by being in this meeting, you acknowledge and agree to comply with these principles. And it's important that we all take that seriously as well. Whew. Now the formal part out of the way, I've been mentioning A-Track project a few times actually. So what is the A-Track project? If you haven't heard of it already, it's a 4-year project with 11 project partners. You can see all the different logos across the screen, partners that are represented across Europe, the best minds when it comes to natural capital accounting, footprinting, organizational change. We've brought them together for this EU Horizon funded project, also acknowledging funding from the UK and Swiss governments. And we're about a third of the way through now. It wraps up in 2027. And you can see some more information if you go to atrack.info, really newly updated website, thanks to the great work of Opla. Like all good Horizon projects, A-Track actually does stand for something. And actually, maybe we could have done a quiz. But anyway, I shall tell you the answer. It is accelerating transformation through capital's knowledge. But not like typical Horizon projects. We are not running this as a business as usual, developing reports that will stay on, PDF reports that will stay on dusty filing systems. This is a project where our common goal is we are consolidating and mainstreaming existing tools and approaches that have been years and up to decades of work, including building on the work of the Natural Capital Protocol led by the Capitals Coalition, but really pulling together all the existing work and accelerating transformation in organizations. So by the end, we have an ambitious goal that a critical mass of businesses, financial institutions, and governments will integrate the value of nature into their decision making and thereby halt and reverse biodiversity loss. We want it to be transformational, and so we're doing things differently. Embed Nature is our business-centric way of bringing all the materials that we are developing so that they meet the current needs of business where they are now, and that you are able to use them for that transformation in your company. So really helping you as change agents, either in companies or working with companies. And so today's call, by the end of it, our objectives are that you will just have a chance to reflect on the moment that we're in right now. What are those current trends and business needs around integrating nature into corporate decision-making? That you'll understand how the A-Track project and its Embed Nature program will add value to, all this very busy ecosystem of organizations working on business action on nature. And you'll also already today get a chance to engage with the experts through the A-Track project, representing those different decision-making contexts that we've identified and prioritized for the A-Track project. And then you'll also be clear then on different ways that you can get involved and leverage the Embed Nature resources as they're being developed and then as we roll them out. So how will we do that on the call today? Well, I'm just nearly finished with the welcome part, just another short setting the scene to go. And then I'll hand over to Karina Moreta from WBCSD, who will then talk about how A-Track is framing the embedding nature part, how we're talking about decision making. Really happy to then have Per Stoltz from Inca Group, one of our most engaged members on nature action, to share then a business perspective of why A-Track is most important now to meet some of the challenges that he's facing. And then because this behavioral change is super important to actually get the change we want to see at the end of the day, we're really happy to welcome Claire Lyons from Planet for Bee. It's another Horizon project that is actively working on integrating behavior change into decision making. And then some of our experts are represented here today who will then speak about, they'll pitch for a couple of minutes on just which decision-making context their piece of the A-Track project will address. And then you'll have a chance to go into breakout discussions with them. And then Amanda's going to wrap us up from WBCSD, who will then just recap then what are the different opportunities between now and 2027 that you can get involved in. But don't worry, that is not just a big, long list of presentations coming your way. We'll have plenty of moments to hear from you, whether it's through polls, asking you to share in the chat. We've got these breakout discussions. We have a feedback poll at the end. And then, of course, you're also very welcome to share comments or questions with us at the end. Okay, so without further ado, let's just do a bit of a reflection, because honestly, this A-Track project, the idea of it was back in 2020. The proposal, I was trying to reflect, I think it was 2021. And then actually it was all signed off and kicked off in the end of 2023. And it's a lifetime, it's a big change. Since then, the world feels a very different place right now. And I think it'd be quite deaf of us in this business as unusual project to just continue and not kind of like reflect on that and your role as change agents, either in companies or supporting companies. And we can see already the peak of COP15 coming, Montreal COP15 at the end of December 2022. And then we're starting to see a slight drop in nature and business related interest, according to Google searches. And so it's really important that we drive through this period to keep going and keep scaling nature and business. The thing is, our job has just got even harder, right? As we know, we on this call know that we urgently need to reverse nature loss, and a lot of the planetary limits that we're facing, we're starting to get into that high risk zone. And at the same time, rowing in the other direction, we are facing a society that is increasingly polarized, with populists criticizing woke, elitist sustainability agendas. this is really painful, right? The LinkedIn community that we're all part of is, it's a safe space. As soon as you go a little bit further outside that, it's getting very hard. And so we need to be mindful of meeting people where they are, to be not just, speaking to our converted choir. We need to also change our way if we're going to get to scale. And I think I've got one of this quote that's really just sitting with me since the beginning of the year, because Otto Sharma is a leader on systems change, theory used, something that he created. You might have come across it before. And he said at the beginning of the year, our number one challenge isn't biodiversity loss, climate change, polarization, countries falling apart, or AI. It's our widespread illusion of insignificance and the belief that we can do nothing about it. And we've really got to have that in the back of our minds when we're working together now, because it can feel really hard. And actually, this other piece that I saw, you might have seen this on LinkedIn, but it's a research piece. I mean, the provocative clickbait title is "Why Well-Off Brits Know Collapse is Coming, but keep going the course and keep playing golf while the fires are burning." And it's true, in our own safe little worlds, we're very active. But as soon as we go outside of that, whether it's in our families, our communities, or to other functions in our company, it gets really hard. And in this case, it's not about more and more information, but it's emotional safety to act. And I just want to acknowledge the emotions that are involved in this work, because we often talk about the technical aspects, the data, but emotions are really strong. So let's do a little check-in, and I've got a first poll for you. And yeah, that last article that you'll see linked in the slides just speaks around that emotional safety that's needed. There are strong emotions that come up in this work, and they can be triggered when we're speaking to others, including grief, because we can see what's coming. Isolation, because, oh, you're just a tree hugger. Bit overwhelming, right? Everything that needs to be done, or actually it's just confusing, all the acronyms that keep popping up like month after month. And sometimes we can feel quite powerless. Or maybe actually you are doing really well and you've got your boundaries well done and you are feeling good. And so let's just fill in this poll, please, and just see if you can just share what the feelings that you have had most recently, or maybe it is actually, thankfully, none of these, and then we can share more on that. So actually, James, I'm just going to hand over to you now, because I don't see any of the results and I normally see them coming in. So can you just share, have we had many filling in so far? Yeah.
Yep, we've had 75%. So
all right, awesome. Well, let's finish that up then. Let's wrap it up, and then let's share. If you can just share with us, I don't know, can you project then the results of that? Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, let's just start at the bottom. 16% of you, we need more of what you're doing. Thankfully, none of those, but most of you, yeah, overwhelm is really strong. So 70% of you that have voted are feeling overwhelmed, powerless, and grief is strong, and confusion with a quarter as well. And then, yeah, not feeling a bit like me, I feel quite isolated sometimes as well. And so let's have these in mind when we're going about our work. Again, this is not business as usual. If we just plow out with more reports and just try to give it to more people, we are not going to change anything. So let's be aware of the emotions that are involved. And hopefully by the end of this call, you will feel a bit less of all of these negative emotions. I suppose the good news is, and this is actually from WBCC's key trends in sustainability. And I suppose, I mean, the silver lining of all of this is like the physical risks are not going away. And even if the transition risks, we're seeing some wobble in terms of some countries and their regulations maybe changing and maybe taking a step back, but those physical risks are not going away. As we get into transition planning, it's actually starting to get more realistic. We're seeing a coming together, a climate and nature, not doing it isolated, and the need to bring back people into the discussions that we're having. And so, like, this is a trend. It might not be the same terms that we're used to using, but actually these terms aren't going away. And maybe just a reassurance that, we are going on the right path. And Fiona Watson is our VP at WBCSD for Corporate Performance and Accountability. And she's just quoted in this recent Ernst & Young work that they are starting to see, the survey that Ernst & Young did said that they are seeing that investors increasingly recognize the value of integrating sustainability into decision making. And so this is a mandate for us to do our work. It's just to be more sensitive. And so let's just do another check-in terms of the companies that you are working in and or the companies that you're supporting. So again, some of you are here, I can see, from networks or NGOs or service providers. or though if you're in a company, so answer this the best that makes this sense for you. So, how integrated is nature into your approaches right now? Like maybe you actually don't have they don't have a nature approach. Maybe it's completely standalone, or it's a little bit integrated, or actually a large extent integrated, or maybe you're a top class. There's actually no distinction. We see everything, sustainability, nature integrated into one business strategy. So where is the company you are working in or the ones that you are mostly supporting? And then James, if we've got more than 50% voted there now, I think we can close in a few seconds. Let's close 3, 2, 1. And if you could share those results with us as well. Awesome. Aha, beautiful bell curve, just about. Ooh, actually a bit of a blip at the beginning, actually. So 20% don't have any approach on nature yet. So there's an active community working on that. But then, yeah, as we expected on this call, it's really about integrated approaches on nature. So typically you have an approach and you are trying to integrate. And those of you, 15% that no distinction, we absolutely need to be learning from you. And we want to do case studies for you as well. Great. Okay. So without further ado, yeah, just as a reminder, change is possible. Keep believing. We will keep the course. Don't go alone. It's about coming together and finding other committed individuals who just need to be more deliberate, more methodical, put our attention, our resources, and make them much more focused on the individuals, meet them where they are. And yeah, just be much clearer. And that's why we've got Claire here speaking later about the behavior change. We need to be much more clear what we expect, what changes we expect, and reward them, especially when it comes to financial markets. That's where the financial piece of ATRAC will also come in as well. All right, so without further ado, what I'll be doing is I'll hand over to Karina as well, and then we'll hear from Per just from the business perspective and how this shows up there as well. So Karina, over to you, and I will give you control here now as well.
Okay, so thank you again, and thank you for the comprehensive presentation, Nadine, and for setting the scene and introducing us into the atmosphere. I will talk about the embedding nature concept and about how we came across this embedding nature in decision making and where what ATRAC has as a role in this story. But first of all, we landed on a working definition at this moment, and we are considering that embedding nature means integrating nature consideration into strategic, financial, and operational decision-making across various functions. And of course, we will continue to work on this definition, inputs from you, with inputs from the knowledge community, with inputs from across the house in the next period of the project. But until then, I would be really, really curious to get your input. Looking at this definition that we have right now, have a think what else embedding nature into business decision-making means for you. And we will come back to your answers very, very soon. Type in the chat if you have any ideas on what it would mean more than what we've defined here. Until we sit in the question and we sit into what embedding nature is, we've actually looked into why embedding nature in decision-making is the next key step for businesses contributing to nature positive. And I wanted to highlight the key step because sometimes it is looked as a sustainability trend and we really want to run away from this saying and to really think it as a key step. And we know that nature shapes key decisions from sourcing to investment. It affects the bottom line. Also, it supports to act where it matters. Nature impacts are local and smart choices start with location. Also, nature would support to avoid costly surprises. Ignoring nature risk leads to disruption and reputational damage, and also to unlock value. Nature-informed actions drive savings, resilience, and trust. So there are so many reasons to look at why embedding nature is actually a key step, because it can support development, progress, and capacity. Since we started the project, so the project ATRAC started in 2024, and we had a period of scoping and also a period in which we wanted to hear about the pain points of businesses in particular. We had a needs assessment running last year with surveys, with interviews, and we want to reassure you, Nature Champion, that we hear you. What we've heard so far is that more examples are needed, more case studies, more practical advice. Also that nature, although even in advanced companies, most teams are waking up to it and it's time to build the internal business case. Also, we've learned that nature is local and what is needed is smart support to prioritize the right places. And also about the data. We've heard that data sometimes is there and is plenty, but there is a big so what about it, how we can transform data into action, actually. We've heard also that some companies are at the point where there is a nature strategy, but we need to operationalize it. And a step-by-step support is very helpful. And also some of our respondents told us that nature is a key stakeholder in the company, but getting that across the organization is tough. Sometimes, for example, the finance team is needed to see how to factor into the bottom line. So we've heard all these discussions from and all these ideas from the nature leaders that we've spoken, no matter if they were from business or from several organizations. Yeah, Nadine, you admitted yourself. You wanted to add something? Oh, okay, sorry. So this is what we've heard so far, and a link to this report, the summarized report will be shared shortly in the chat, just to have an idea. We have a larger research, but with a summarized report that is ready to be shared. Besides our own research in ATRAC, we've been seeing lately research about integrating in general sustainability in decision making, and inspired by the same research and article that Nadine shared earlier, we connected the sustainability actions of how to embed nature in decision making to nature specific ones, and we can already see almost a logical framework if you may what actions would be needed to embed nature in decision making. We need to align leadership. We need to fund what matters. We need to make it everyone's job. We need to act where it counts. We need to design for an impact. And we need to focus on people as change agents. So in a way, we've identified those points that would be those actions that would be very, very supportive to embedding nature. But we still, if we bring all the actions together, we still are building, as we speak, a very large puzzle. We have change drivers that feed into strategy, governance, finance, operations. We have people that need to change behaviorals, or they need to improve skills. We need to build up on knowledge. And for sure, there are missing pieces here. And maybe this is the moment to look at the chat and see, how do you see Embed Nature? And if you've spotted some missing elements already to our big puzzle. So let's see.
Got some nice comments coming in the chat here now. Actually, maybe almost missing from our list here is the mindset shift, that recognizing that we are part of nature, that got quite a bit of reaction there. The idea of investing and protecting what sustains your business, reconnected with the landscapes they're operating in. And then a couple of just mentions back to like life cycle analysis, getting more of a nature lens into that to then inform business practices. Yeah, just these actionable insights, not just data. So yeah, there's some great partner work happening here. Yeah, and then actually, yeah, the need for courage and bravery for that transformation as well. Yeah, great.
Exactly. It's not only about knowledge, it's also about bravery towards transformation. So thank you all for this puzzle. For this puzzle support, for helping us solve the puzzle. Very quickly into how ATRAC is looking at this big puzzle. We're building a business-friendly playbook to embed nature into decision-making. We're starting with what we have at hand, and you've seen already the amazing partners that we have on board in ATRAC. Our focus is on people, empowering you, the nature champion, to drive change and to move nature across departments, and we target real business decisions. And as you've seen, our framing is around decision-making context with the aim to support the cross-functional integration of nature. Embedding nature into decision-making brings sustainability beyond sustainability teams into procurement, finance, strategy, R&D. And this so what is really important because we have the so what in mind, so that nature becomes a core driver of business value, resilience, risk management across the entire organization. And to do so, we've identified high-impact entry points across key business contexts where nature integration matters most. So we've looked at operational decisions with entry points in location-focused decision-making, nature in product and service design. We've looked at financial decision with especially zooming on putting nature on the balance sheet. And also we've looked at strategic decision with the intention to arrive at nature positive aligned business models. More about how this framing becomes a program you'll find out later, very soon in our presentation. Until then, you'll have quite amazing content coming up. So Nadine, back to you.
Super. Thank you, Karina. And yeah, we're throwing lots of content at you here as well. So let's just take a little moment to pause. And there's been quite a few responses in the chat there as well. Is there any clarification questions or a reflection or a question or a comment that anybody wants to share at this moment? I didn't read out Guy Mansfield's comment earlier, actually, but actually you could almost have written this part of the theory of change for the project as well, Guy. We're really trying to bring alive the value of nature, the importance of nature, because it has been taken for free before. So thank you for sharing that, Guy, as well. And Simona, I see your point on the making sure it's a whole value chain. And we have been having interesting discussions around that, especially in the business model piece. Is it just an individual organization? How far do we actually have business models reflected across value chains? So yeah, we also recognize this is not just about the direct one company. It's about using their influence upstream and downstream and beyond as well. Just a pause. Anyone you want to come in? Any clarification, question or comment? If not, then okay, well, we're very happy to hand over to Per Stoltz with Inca Group. He is one of our nature champions in our Nature Action Project at WBCSD, one of our most engaged members across the whole project, and really working hard to mainstream nature at Inca Group. And so Per, we're so happy for you to share with us just that reality of what it takes to mainstream nature into a company like Inca Group. So Per, thank you for joining us today, and over to you. Thanks. And
hey everybody from a grey and cold Sweden. I work at Inca Group. Just a few words about what Inca Group is. We are the largest franchisee in the IKEA franchise. So we operate IKEA stores around the world in 31 countries. We do also have some other businesses under, not under the IKEA brand. We own some forests, and we own also energy production, renewable energy production. So we, even if we are a retailer, we are reaching out into nature with our own operations. Now let's see if this works. Yes. Yes. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not going to take you through the leap approach here at all. But I wanted to share some consideration, insights, or experiences that I have had working with this topic now for some years in our Inca journey towards nature. I should say also that we are as many in the beginning, but still we have come to, I guess, some insight. Sorry, phone call. Yeah, yeah. So the leap approach, that is just as an example of the different frameworks that we have out there. And I wanted just to stress the importance of this framework for the work that we have done. It gives us something to work with and systematize our work with, developing the agenda, but also interacting with our stakeholders. There's a very strong help for companies. But at the same time, we should also say that if you read, which I did, the LEAP technical guidance of, I don't know how many hundreds of pages, it's very easy to be overwhelmed. It's a lot. And if you read it really, really, you say, oh gosh, this will be difficult for me to do. So I think one of the insights that we learned in the beginning is that, yes, it is a very big framework, but it should be seen as a process. This is, you start somewhere, and don't let perfect be the enemy of good here, and to not act. So we see this as a process. We will start. We will not be by any means perfect in the beginning, but it will then get better and better for each round we go. Then, there you go. Then another insight, and of course, the framework helps us to write strategies, develop KPIs, measurements and processes and whatnot. And that's super important. But it is also important, the human side of change. People will do the change, not measurements and strategies. So you really have to work with the change process as part of your work description. Yes, I do a lot on the strategy side and the tactics and all of that, but I need to work a lot with the human side and create your friends in the organization and outside the sustainability department. Because, of course, if we can win over hearts and minds of other functions, they will be heard by their peers in a much better way compared to me. Then I think, Carina, you touched upon it, local versus global. Of course, I mean, insight is location, location, location. Everything happens on the ground. Yes, I sit and write strategies. I do a lot of PowerPoints, but at the end of the day, the decisions are made locally and executed locally. So they need to be embedded in the local situation, but also be driven by the local people. And also, third but not least, the budgets nearly always sit locally and the decision making is local. So how to reach out there to your peers out in the different location becomes also a very big part of my job. As all of us, I guess, I mean, me personally as well, we do not sit on unlimited resources. We are under constraint, economic, but also time and resource constraint. We have a lot of internal competition. And just to, give an example, if a store manager needs to take a decision of an IKEA store, should I do something like a green roof for my store, or should I invest in PV panels? These both are in our sustainability strategy. So there will be internal competition between the resources, between the different topics for the resources. And when it comes to business case, yes, that's super important. Nothing will happen without the business case, but don't forget the non-monetary values as well that you can attach to a certain business case. And this brings us to, to this kind of silo thinking that we are unfortunately used to in sustainability, but also in other parts of business. We tend sort of to work with our climate agenda in one direction, circular in another, and the social and the nature agenda. But many times the stakeholders are the same internally. So if you really just go with the silo thinking, then you will get into this competition about resources full on. And then it becomes a race, to the bottom, I would say, more than a constructive one. Oops, one too much. And this is then my last slide, which then points at, one of the ways, not the only way, I would say, but one of the ways to really go out of this silo thinking and start to integrate the different topics into one solution. That's the silver bullet, having solutions that actually have a positive impact on nature for sure, on climate, on social questions, but also maybe on the business side as well. And you can see a small little example here on the right-hand side, which we actually then have managed to put together a business case that lowering the costs for us as a company. It engages co-workers, that means bigger co-worker loyalty, and it can also engage customer into the topic. And here we see a small solution, but where we actually broke the silo thinking and went into one solution that can actually have a lot of different effects. So that's all for me. Nadine, back to you.
Yeah, wonderful, Per. Thank you so much. And a big Zoom round of applause for Per as well. Thank you for sharing there as well. And yeah, I had to smile when he said, I do PowerPoints, but actually the decisions are made on the ground. And so, yeah, it is a good reminder, like especially those who are sitting in corporate or in an NGO or a service provider or a network that's working with business, yes, we do PowerPoints at the end of the day, but it's really how do we get the decisions taken on the ground? Because at the end of the day, it is people making those changes. So how do we reach those people? And so really hopefully validates this approach that we're taking, this decision-centric approach for ATRAC as well. Actually, there is one little clarification question for you, Per, actually. So Audrey is just wondering, what do you mean by non-monetary values? Do you just want to briefly go into that, Per?
Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that are very difficult to quantify. So, for instance, co-worker engagement leads to co-worker retention somehow. So we can see that is a value, but we can't really put a figure on it, a euro number on it. But we know that it has somewhere a positive impact on it as well on cost. So that's what I mean with non-monetary values. Or for instance, when we engage with customer, there is a brand value that could increase. Not easy to quantify in numbers, but it's a value that comes around to the companies at the end.
Super. Thanks, Per. And yes, certainly the Capitals Coalition are really, they're kind of leading in the framing of this. You can talk about qualitative and quantitative and monetary. They don't all have to be going straight to like the monetary. They're even qualitative can give, useful information as well. So yeah, great. Thank you so much. And so let's pass now then, because we've recognized that the importance of getting to the behavioral change lens. So yeah, Claire, really welcome. You're very welcome to join us from another Horizon project, Planet for B, based at Coventry University. But yeah, looking forward to your session now, how we can all learn a little bit more on behavior change and how we can integrate that into our work. So yeah, over to you, Claire.
Fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Nadine and Karina, for putting this on. It's already been super insightful. So I'm just going to chat a little bit about the Planet 4B project and some work I've been doing on that with my colleague, Dr. Jackie Abel. I'm going to talk about influencing decision making and this kind of behavioral change perspective, kind of that crux of frustration when you want some tools to make change. So just to start with a little bit of background on the Planet 4B project. Oh, yep, we are hopefully there. So the Planet 4B project is coming to an end now. It's been running for the past 3 years. We'll be closing down in this October. And yeah, we've been exploring how values, behaviours and decision-making affect biodiversity. And that's been involving 16 international project partners. And they've been trialing these various creative, deliberative and participatory methods and kind of nudging methods as well. And working with various intersectional dimensions, gender, class, race, and how these identities shape perceptions. And what's really kind of key about Planet 4B is this kind of emphasis on inclusive participation, critical reflexivity, and involving diverse knowledge systems. So just the background of the project. We then have the piece of work that we've been working on at Coventry University, which is designing these biodiversity engagement courses. And so these are going to be launched this September. And this is an online open access training, so completely free to use. And for 4 different kind of segments, but critically in this context, there's going to be a course for business users. And part of what's going to be on offer is this directory of 30+ intervention methods, focusing on strategies for behaviour change. So that's kind of what I'm going to be talking a little bit about today and giving you 2 examples of the methods that are going to be included. So just kind of maybe take a step back and think about why we need this, and maybe you have some ideas here about, which would be great if you could pop in the chat, about why people don't do why don't they just do what you ask them to. And yeah, I'm sure this is something many people here are facing, this challenge. Well, we can give some examples. Yeah, this kind of lack of urgency, maybe you don't think it's see it as something. It can be thrown into the long grass, not needed today, spinning many plates, lack of focus, fear of change, great. Stuck in old ways, lovely, these coming through in the chat, lack of understanding. Accountability, really nice. Yeah, so I mean, the kind of this list could be very endless. We need several slides to integrate conflicting priorities. Yeah, really good. Well, very challenging. And then perhaps with the same with your colleagues, why are they equally not doing what you ask? Slightly different perhaps to management, but again, these are the two kind of prongs of the people that you actually need to make change. Yeah, not knowing how it fits in their daily work. Cultural and organizational barriers, again, that kind of lack of understanding might be seen as irrelevant. These lack of resources, poor communication, and kind of that again, the link between, not a link between management support. So kind of what you might want to do in terms of challenging that or going about a strategy for making change. And the two really critical points here are what you want to do is really be specific. I mean, encouraging more biodiversity practices is a lovely aim, but that kind of blue sky thinking is, yeah, it's not practical. It's really hard to nail down. So one or two really specific changes that you can envisage happening and have a clear outcome. And the other element that is really integral to focus on is why won't people do it? And perhaps it's really nice to kind of spend a long time thinking about what you want to do, but really where you need to be focusing time in terms of behavior change is why won't people actually follow through and do it? So that's something we're just going to take a little look at now. So again, we have this, yeah, the, oh, that should have a title, but maybe it's gone off. The key thing in this strategy, which is, yeah, kind of the strategy you need to develop. And again, yeah, demonstrating values, aligning to business goals, what are you communicating? But the area to focus on and the thing that needs a lot of time is overcoming the barriers. And that kind of is at the crux that's going to help with all these other dimensions. So this should lead. Sorry, the slides seem to have stalled for me. Oh, no. Sorry, rapid slide changing. Okay, onto the right page. So kind of this, yeah, this idea behind behavior change that you think you need to change values and attitudes in order to change behavior, but really you can start by changing behavior and then attitudes and values will follow. So many people will like not practice what they preach and hold these really strong, like maybe really strong commitments to sustainability, but not do anything to not actually put any implementation into that. So rather than kind of going about it as let's do a little surveys, understand people's attitudes, start the ball rolling, get people to actually even incrementally change a behavior, and then that can snowball into some larger, more sustained behavior changes. So two examples of the methods that can kind of help in assisting that. We have foot in the door, and foot in the door is a really, it's a really low budget and low time method that kind of gets the ball rolling, gets some change happening. And kind of what something like that could do is set you up for the comb method, which is slightly more intensive, maybe used for larger requests, and it kind of gets more time and resources. So foot in the door, it's something that's likely to be agreed to, something like having a few more plants in the office. Yeah, something really low cost and low time. But what is critical with this is that you then get the feedback about it. Oh, yeah, I think the slides have gone on. You get the feedback about it. You make sure you disseminate any of those measures, disseminate any kind of like positive, working next to a plant helped me, it made me more relaxed, I enjoyed looking at it. Anything, just really build on that, show how it's made change, and really recognize the contributions of people who've built into that. And what something like this will do, it will give you this leverage number one, it puts people in a position in which they have made a change. They see themselves as a change maker, and perhaps they start to see themselves as caring and helpful. That's a really great, that's something that you can build upon and slowly ask for more. And yeah, it's kind of getting you out of the starting blocks, starting this process of asking for things. So that leads to the cone method. So this is for slightly maybe larger requests. And so kind of perhaps an example we could use here is supporting biodiversity in green space volunteering. And so the capabilities here might be, do people know where they can, giving people examples of habitat restoration, or talking them through what the biodiversity in the local green space is. In terms of the opportunities, is there an opportunity to like partner with a local NGO, a local charity that's running these kind of working sessions, or get some working hours included, volunteering hours included in the work hours? And motivation, do people want to be seen as a champion? Do people want to know more about nature? What do people want to actually be outside? That's a nice opportunity for them. So once you have these kind of where you can identify the barriers in the CO&M and the kind of opportunities in that, you can start to think of potential interventions that will support. So if a barrier is related to kind of the capability, do you need more education? Do you need some persuasion in there? You can pick one or multiple of these, but really tailored to your needs. But these kind of things can help support this, what you need. And that will lead us on to some examples. So Ilium, who are a big financial company, and they partnered with Mossy Earth. So kind of the first thing they did to get the kind of change happening was they started with this small monthly donation. So the company was making this small monthly donation to the NGO. Then that kind of, then they started canvassing the company employees for what they wanted to maybe have some involvement with Mossy Earth. And there were votes for the rewilding project. So there was kind of like a nice employee agency involved as well. And now that has kind of scaled out into employees planting trees with the NGO. And so they're kind of, their current targets are 4 trees per person per month. And they've planted over 32,000 trees. And that started with asking for a very small monthly donation to the NGO. And then there's this an example from Starbucks, where they started with 1 green space kind of in the locality of the store. And that has now scaled out to having more than 100 of these green space kind of hub-ups. And the Starbucks employees can also use their company time 22.5 hours a week to go and volunteer in these initiatives. So those are just some examples of the methods that are going to be included in the training resource. We'll keep you updated through A-Track on when this is launched, but that hopefully just gives you a little bit of a flavour of what we will be offering and when it will be.
Well, thank you so much, Claire, and another Zoom round of applause for sharing some really useful content. Yeah, we wanted to dive into that role of that individual behavior change that need to be specific. And so it's really great to have then these top tips already that we can start to, the people on this call now can already start to integrate. And yeah, I have to say, I mean, some of the examples, maybe some on the call might think, oh, that's all very philanthropic. But actually being able to engage with nature, have that full appreciation of nature, what is nature beyond just trees and bees and butterflies, but actually recognizing it as the natural world. And that it's dependent, our business is dependent on business, our whole society is dependent on nature. Then that can also help with the buy-in for them to be able to have more bigger rollout through supplier engagement or something as well. So I think, this nature is actually easier to sell, I think, than a net zero very invisible program. So really thank you so much for those insights and sharing. right, so let's go. We're going into quite a dynamic phase now. There are 4 decision contexts that we have tried to be specific around with the A-Track project, where we will be, actually we should be referring to the text that Claire shared in terms of the different elements of a decision, what needs to be included. We have identified location-specific decision-making where that shows up, especially with supplier engagement and operational decisions. There is nature and product and service design, especially as fed in by footprinting. We've got putting nature on the balance sheet. And then we get into more strategic level, it's like looking at business models as well. And so we have an expert from the four partner organizations in A-Track who are just going to pitch their work that they're doing at the moment and how Embed Nature can then help you in your decision making. So as a reminder then, after these 2-minute pitches, you will then get to choose a breakout group discussion to go in and maybe ask your question directly, have a discussion, maybe even pick a second one if you want to go across as well, you're free to do that. And so do keep track of your questions as they come up, because then you can bring them up in the breakout group afterwards. So without further ado, Jake Bedford from UNEP WCMC, UN Environment Programme for World Conservation Monitoring Centre, would you like to go ahead with your 2-minute pitch? And I am timing you with Swiss efficiency. So Jake, over to you.
Thanks, Nadine, and hi everyone. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep it brief because I think the importance of locations was really eloquently explained already by earlier. And I also really loved the comment in the chat about reconnecting with landscapes. I really liked that phrasing. So yeah, when we're talking about location-focused decision-making, we really mean the aspects of a strategy that are tailored and bespoke to the priority places identified within a value chain. So this might be things like planning the mitigation of site-based impacts on specific biodiversity features, or planning an engagement strategy in key sourcing landscapes. And we know this lens is really important because nature itself is really spatially variable and the services it provides. And so when we're talking about effective location-focused decision-making, we're really thinking about taking into account local context, so things like the status and significance of nature located across the value chain, the different processes driving change in nature at priority locations, and really importantly, the relations between nature and the well-being of local communities. So through the Embed Nature program, we're really trying to kind of cut through a lot of the apparent complexity in driving insights to support location-focused decision-making through developing training on using spatial data sets and metrics to characterize locations. But crucially, we're really mapping the specific types of business decisions that really require this local nature context to really make sure that these materials are bespoke and really helpful. And lastly, in slightly longer time, we're also working to kind of demystify natural capital accounting, which can seem quite scary, but just as a way of organizing local information to drive insights. And that'll be through, again, practical kind of workflows and guidance. And if we go to the next slide, actually. Oh, okay. Yes, I just wanted to flag very quickly that actually the first materials of this decision-making context will be available imminently, like later in the summer, including a really practical handbook that we've developed, focusing on building narratives through nature data. So this handbook includes some simple explanations of how common data sets and metrics actually work and what information they tell you, how to use complementary sets of metrics together to screen nature issues at locations, and then some work through examples of applying these spatial data sets and metrics to support decision making. So I just kind of wanted to flag that on the radar. But I think that's all from me.
That's all for you, and you were 20 seconds over, but this resource is so important. I let you go over and as well. So yeah, so who is that one for? It's definitely not to share with your procurement team, but this is for you in the sustainability teams working maybe with service providers on the data so you can understand how the data sets come together. So really nice, as you say, demystifying what we mean by the data. So yeah, great work from WCMC. Super. Thank you, Jake. Questions and comments, you go to Jake's breakout group. Next, so we have Marina from Technalia. So how nature shows up in product and service design. So Marina, over to you.
Yep, thank you very much, Nadine. Good afternoon to all. Pleasure to be here representing the work doing in A-Track in this regard by a group of experts. So in nature and product and service design, we are looking into, well, effective ways of introducing nature information into life cycle assessments. And well, the reason why this is important is because well, we know that most or many environmental impacts of products and services are determined at the design phase. And we also know that life cycle assessment is an efficient and also standard method for assessing the environmental impacts of products along their life cycles. But whilst we are very, very familiar with, for example, impacts of products on climate, these same impacts of products on biodiversity and ecosystem services, for example, are less well known and often overlooked. So this often happens because of, well, lack of consensus on methods, for example. So this is why in A-Track, we are working in providing a consistent framework for the assessment of biodiversity and ecosystem services footprints of products. And well, in doing so, we are building on life cycle assessment methodologies, making use of nature data. We are also aligning as much as we can with the principles and concepts from natural capital that Jake mentioned earlier, and also trying to align with biodiversity reporting requirements. So aiming to simplify all these efforts or overwhelming efforts of companies in gathering nature data. And this is all from my side. If you would like to know more, please join the other room.
Perfect. Great framing. Thank you. And again, I have to say pretty much every single member of WBCSD that I'm aware of have used footprinting as a way to prioritize, especially if they are further downstream. Where do you even start with the commodities that you're sourcing? And so I think this will be a really interesting one to dive into further, how you can use footprinting to help with that prioritization exercise and then inform product service design, and also potentially also supplier engagement as well. So how can we use footprinting and make that even better for you? Okay, then moving on swiftly. So putting nature onto the balance sheet. So yeah, over to you, Toby from ICAEW, International Council for Accounting in England and Wales, correct?
Nearly. Thank you, Nadine. Yeah. Great to be here. No, thanks a lot. This work pillar, or this area of the Embed Nature program, is all about bringing nature into the finance function or the finance team. But why? Nature is no longer just a corporate social responsibility issue. We've sort of heard lots of fantastic reflections on that in the chat. More and more businesses are realizing that it is, in fact, a strategic core management issue that has a bearing on the success, financial and otherwise, of businesses. Because all companies depend on and impact nature, and that creates risks and opportunities both for the business itself and for investors. So effective management of these risks and opportunities matters to financial performance and business success in terms of potentially reduced costs, enhanced revenues, impact on competitiveness, enterprise value, and just more broadly, long-term resilience. So finance teams play a central role, if you like, in enabling businesses to respond, integrating nature into the core accounting and finance processes that support decision-making, both from a financial perspective, but also across the business, multiple other business functions, including operations, planning and investment. So in short, nature matters to finance teams. They play a key role in driving business transformation, both to because of the business case for investing in nature is so strong, and also driving outcomes that are positive for nature. And which is why ICAEW, the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, is so excited to be collaborating with WBCSD on this piece of work. So how can the A-Track Embed Nature program, or this part of it, help you? So our aim is to help finance and accounting professionals, if you like, build business resilience and value, whilst also contributing to nature positive outcomes, if you like, by figuratively and potentially literally putting nature on the balance sheet. And to do this, the work will provide, firstly, educational materials, again, drawing on all that fantastic work that's already out there in the market. Nadine, as you said right from the outset, there's a huge amount out there already. We're doing a lot of signposting, for example, on how nature-related risks translate to financial risks and how it maps across to the day-to-day roles of the finance team. Guidance and training, secondly, for finance teams on, if you like, how to integrate nature into these core activities and processes, accounting, financial planning and analysis, drawing the lines to strategy and risk management, financial reporting, of course, investor engagement, you name it. It's a very broad set of activities. And then finally, case studies. Again, that'll be mapping across all of these different, these 4 different areas, and something we'll definitely be looking at as part of this one. So to conclude, I think this work is all about connections, connecting sustainability and finance teams to sort of help enable that interconnection, that information exchange based on a common language, connecting nature-related financial information to generate business useful insights, and connecting those insights to decision-making really to drive action. So I think that's all from me. Looking forward to the breakouts, and please reach out to get involved. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Toby. Definitely over, but this is probably a lot of very interesting content, newer content, a bit scary maybe this one. So yeah, go into Toby's group to discuss this one further. And then finally, Harry from CISL, Cambridge Institute for Sustainable Leadership. Harry, over to you on nature positive aligned business models.
Thanks, Nadine, and hello, everyone. Yes, I'm just going to give a quick flavour of our work looking at nature positive aligned business models. So I think we all know the transition to a nature positive economy is going to require some big changes, fundamental changes to how the economy works. And I think although this is widely acknowledged, for example, the ACT-D framework includes the T standing for transform and talks about changing business strategies, business models and policies. It's difficult and I think uncharted territory. So we've been trying to imagine, what does this transformation look like through the lens of business models? What does a business model look like where the core value proposition and rationale for the business produce not just economic value, but also natural capital value and other types of value? And I suppose more importantly, what's the pathway to achieve this? We think this is important to businesses because increasingly we're going to come up against the limits of incremental change that tries to address nature issues, particularly if it's in tension with the underlying business model that the business is operating under. So we've looked at a business model as, describing the strategy and operating logic for how a business works. And if that logic is kind of stretched or in tension with reaching nature positive, it's probably not going to work. So we're trying to think what are the solutions, viability and value creation with delivering for nature. And we think it's really important to show this as where the opportunities are. So what do the businesses and the sectors and the innovations of the future look like that are aligned with nature positive if we're trying to get there? The Embed Nature program is going to support this organizational and systemic change in a few different ways. We're looking at creating a theoretical grounding. So we've created some nature positive business model archetypes for different types of company and sectors to give an idea of what these business models might look like. We're creating guidance and tools so that businesses can help to align their strategies with nature positive outcomes. And we're developing case studies and examples of business innovation. So working with innovators and entrepreneurs to think about what are the new ideas of business models that would help deliver the best outcomes for nature. So yeah, keen to hear more from everyone about this if you want to come to the breakout room. Thank you.
Right. So as Teresa is just saying in the chat, they all sound super interesting, but you have to make a choice. You could actually make 2 choices. You need to start somewhere. So we're going to open the breakout groups now so you can actually go directly with your questions, any comments, or maybe resources that you've got already that you want to bring, highlight to the experts' attention. So James, if you can just start those breakout groups now, you should see the little panel that pops up in front of you, hopefully. And then you can basically just self-select which group you would like to go in. I do not see the panel coming up though yet. Maybe you have to go to the More menu and click Join Breakout Group. There we go. So go on, maybe it's 3 dots and more, go into Breakout Groups, and then you click on the one that you want to join. So if you want to go into Location Focused Decision Making with Jake, that's the top one. You can go with Marina to talk about how footprinting can improve product and service design, putting nature on the balance sheet with Toby, or nature positive aligned business models. So I do recommend, so actually just looking at them, the group's looking quite busy. Nature and product and service design, if you're struggling to pick, maybe do go into there and what are the options? So where are the options? So Sandra, if you go to More, and then you should see Join Breakout Group in there, and then you should see the 4 options. And if you really can't move, then we can also move you as well. I can hang out in plenary if you've got any other questions or comments or reflections. And James, we will break at, I think, 51, if you don't mind. Cool. All right. So if you're still in this group, feel free to unmute. We can move you into a group if you are not able to find how to get into the group. So or type it into the chat. Dear James, please move me to which group? Or just unmute. And then ATRAC team, feel free to go in and listen as well. So who needs a group? Adesh, would you like to join a group? Almami, Christine. Who else is still here? Oh, hi, Jenny, you're still here. Happy to stay out. Okay, fine. Mauricio Sixto, hello. Would you like to join a breakout group, or do you want to, do you have a more general question for us potentially here? Feel free to unmute. So just checking if you're still on the call here. If you would like to go to a breakout group, unmute and let us know which one. Back a little bit early. All right, welcome back to the discussion. We're just waiting for other people to join us as well. Okay, so if you're just back already, you can just kind of think what your main aha insight from this session has been so far. Just check that I'm still sharing the slides. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. For those of you already back in the group, you can just be thinking what your main reflections are from the session. I'm so sorry for breaking you off mid-conversation. I'm sure it's always the case. If anything, it's just shown that there's a lot more to dive into for the rest of ATRAC. This was just a taster for today. As you're just coming back, I'm just be interested to kind of for you to think for yourself, what has been your main insight, your aha moment, as I like to call them, like, now something, the penny has dropped. What has that been for you? Or if you've got any outstanding questions or observations you want to share, please add them into the chat. In the meantime, I'm just going to come to each of our session leads, and you have literally one insight. It's 30 seconds. So I'll do the same order again. So Jake, I'll come to you first. Any particular aha from your session you just had just now?
Yeah, really interesting discussion. Just one point I think was actually often for a lot of sectors, like EIAs and environmental impact assessments are often the place where the starting point, because that's the kind of jurisdictional kind of regulatory element. So it's thinking about like, how can we build on that and think about what's missing, and how can we take what found in them and kind of embellish in a way that makes it a little bit more kind of decision useful.
Nice. So not starting from scratch at all, and EIAs are a great place to start. Super. Okay, great. Over to you, Marina. You had a quality conversation on getting nature into product design. Yeah.
We did.
Yes.
It was very nice. It ended quite abruptly, so very sorry. Very sorry for that. But we had lots of representatives from different companies mentioning that they are undertaking many life cycle assessments, and it's a very useful tool. It is very clear the need they have for introducing biodiversity in life cycle assessments, also in a kind of operational way, so that they can also indicate their partners, stakeholders, where to look at or where to go when having to undertake this assessment. So I think HRAC can be very helpful in this regard.
Yes, super practical. We aim to be practical. Yeah, no, super. Thank you so much for sharing, Marina. Toby, on to you. One brief insight, please, from your discussion.
It was a very rapid discussion. So I'd like to issue an apology to everyone that was in that room about how abruptly it ended. Please keep in touch. That one insight in the time we had was perhaps just the first one we landed on, which is that a lot of the agenda has been driven so far by within the finance team, finance function, by sort of a reporting and compliance sort of mindset and drivers, but that we were reflecting how actually what we're talking about here is collection of the information that will provide business insights. There's no journey towards reporting and disclosure that doesn't involve collecting useful information that can help drive improved business resilience and improved decision making.
Nice. So actually thinking about the outcomes of why to do this, I like the business resilience focus. Super great. Thank you so much. And yeah, sorry, that was a big group as well. So definitely, the focus group discussion that Amanda's going to go into shortly will be a very good discussion, I can imagine as well. So please, a reminder, only Teresa has kind of shared her insights. Oh, thank you, Stefanos, as well. Just share your insights as well. What have been your aha moments from this conversation today? What are you taking away? And then Harry, over to you for the last insight. Nice and brief, 30 seconds.
Sure. Yeah, we had a good conversation as well. I think one of the starting points is, are nature positive aligned business models actually economically viable in the current context? So is it a bigger question? We also had a question around which sectors we might want to focus on and whether we need it to broaden out from individual organizations to how this plays out at the sector level, because it might need different players to work together to make the kind of business models that we might need actually viable and attractive. Plenty more to talk about.
Plenty, lots to dive into that one as well. Great. Okay, and so I'm still not sharing much aha moments in the chat, but Teresa, thank you for kind of identifying with EIAs the opportunity to partner with authorities as well. So that's a nice link also to governments as well. Business is not operating in isolation, so how to bring governments in. They haven't come up much yet on the call, so thank you for sharing, Teresa. Okay, keep sharing your insights into the chat. We'll just now wrap up in terms of how you can get involved, and Amanda, I will also give you control of the slide now as well.
So you're probably wondering by now how it all comes together and how to get involved. So you heard insights from content experts from HRAC project team around these different decision-making contexts. And here you'll be able to see what we've done. We've turned all this into a capacity building pilot program called Embed Nature, which we will be rolling out starting in autumn, first focusing on operational and financial decision making. So on location focused context with UNEP WCMC as content experts, followed by putting nature on the balance sheet with ICAW as experts, and nature in product and service design with Technalia as content expert, which will form the phase 1 of the program. And in the phase 2, around mid-2026, we'll focus on strategic decision-making involving also engagement opportunities for boards and top management linked with nature positive aligned business models and CISL as content experts and leads. And as it is a pilot program, we will certainly invite lots of feedback and we'll learn from the process to then at the phase 3, improve the resources and trainings to develop this Embed Nature playbook, which will be a practical and interactive guides to embed nature in decision-making for business professionals. And it will also include train the trainer offering and other opportunities to accelerate these efforts. But now, for the year from now on, in the phase 1, the program for each of the 3 just before mentioned decision-making contexts will consist of intro sessions for the functional teams and those more new to the nature to raise awareness how the different roles in the organization affect nature decisions. Then each context will have a more deep dive training session for a specific audience that is most closely linked to the topic. And after that, troubleshooting and Q&A session to come back with any challenges faced or remained after the sessions. And we'll make sure to empower a community of practice and bring in lots of practical examples, case studies, and peer learning. And also, as you've heard several times, the target audience is not only sustainability professionals, but the aim is really to roll it out also further to functional teams and encourage this cross-functional collaboration. But to reach them, we'll certainly need help through you, sustainability professionals, who is majority here today. So please share and encourage your colleagues internally and externally to join the most appropriate sessions for them. If we go next, so here you can see a bit of a timeline for each upcoming sessions and dates. While I briefly speak about them, my colleague will post the link to the website where you can learn more about each of the sessions, for who is it for, and register already, or share with your colleagues. And participation is flexible, and different sessions are for a bit different audiences, so you'll need to register for each that you're interested in. We'll kick off with a location-focused decision-making topic, and as explained before, the format will be similar for all topics, starting with the first one, intro session for functional teams. In this case, location-focused decision-making and nature in your job role, which is also relevant to procurement, operations, risks, and other functions. And then followed by a deep dive training focused on applying spatial information to assess locations and tailor nature strategies, which is more for sustainability teams working around this topic. And both hosted in September. Then it will be followed by putting nature in the balance sheet, intro sessions, and also deep dive training for finance and sustainability professionals at the end of October and November. And in 2026, focus on nature in product and service design and nature positive aligned business models. But you can already register your interest also for these topic areas, and we will be in touch with more details later this year. Yep, and quickly just to recap that essentially the program is tailored for businesses advancing on nature to support the process of operationalizing nature strategies. And we're really trying to target different business functions and encourage this cross-functional collaboration. And participation is open to all and flexible. There's no strict commitment. You can pick and choose the topics and sessions that interest you most and register separately. Hopefully we'll see you in the future sessions, and feel free to reach out with any additional questions, and I'll hand over to Nadine to close.
Yeah, wrap up. So yeah, so you do need to register again, right? Today was the Embed Nature, it was the kickoff call, but then to participate in these, unfortunately, is another registration process, but that's just the way we need to manage it, especially for this type of project. You can imagine with so many partners. So please do register. The links are in the chat. So yeah, we've just got 2 minutes left. So yeah, actually, James, if I can just ask you to share the feedback poll as well, if you could just bring that up onto the screen. Please do fill that in for us, because as we get into the future, all those sessions that Amanda has laid out, we want to make sure that they are as useful as possible. So yeah, give us a little rating, 1 to 10. How useful did you find this session? And what other suggestions or comments do you have for us as well? So we'll keep that open. In the meantime, just some key takeaways that we would like you to take, that we do need, we collectively working in this space on transforming business practices to have nature positive outcomes. We need to be much more targeted. We don't have time to do things superficially and all in one place. Let's be much more targeted in our interventions to get nature integrated into specific decision-making context. And yes, we are working on getting better data, whether it's location data and footprinting. And we also need to think about the organizational and behavioral change pieces to accompany that. Alongside it, also being aware of the emotions, the values that underpin why our colleagues, our suppliers, our other stakeholders are taking the decisions that they are. And then, yeah, A-Track is here to help. This Embed Nature, this business-focused program will be supporting on, yeah, strategic financial and the operational decisions. So yeah, we're trying to break down that complexity, reduce the overwhelm of what it means to transform. And we're here till 2027. So yeah, please do make use of this program, share the word, share it with other peers who are also struggling. And I just really loved your insight as well earlier on. Who was this? Stefanos, just this idea of like coming together with like-minded professionals. We're in it together. So yeah, please do join future sessions. So yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. Please complete that feedback poll and then register for future Embed Nature sessions. We're in it together. And yes, thank you so much. So